think I'm on. Good morning. Maybe give it a second. Yeah, there I am. Okay, equipment, right? Today is Thursday, September 29th, 2022. My name is Terry Morgan. We are here to talk about Qigong practice and the philosophy that goes behind, as well as a little bit of an idea that I've talked about previously, which is listening. So part of why I'm sitting and part of why I picked today is that currently, and I'm pointing at the window over here, there's a window there. I am in Central Florida and Tropical Storm Ian is outside. Literally. The rain and wind has been going on most of the night, and it's starting to dissipate and just be more of a cautionary thing than something that I need to be completely alert for, thankfully. For me, that's great. Okay, at the same time, there's still a threat. It's not over, and tropical storm force winds can do a lot of damage. So I'm very much alert, I'm very much aware, and I'm listening to the wind. Literally, I'm listening to the wind. That sense of, and I'm going to move this so I can put my coffee cup up over here. That sense of what is the sound? What do I hear? Why does it matter? Right? That's what I'm going to talk about this morning. And I realized that, and the other part of today's class was, and I'm going to talk about that first, when do I know not to practice? Okay? I've talked about knowing I'm upset, knowing that I'm angry, that I'm sad, that I'm too much emotion, I'm too happy, I'm too what. That is not ever a good time to practice. That excess is something that we don't want. We look for a balance, and we look at how to balance ourselves, right? Because you're not practicing somebody else, you're practicing yourself. How to balance ourselves internally, both physically and mentally, so that we don't go way this way or way that way, that we look for that middle. When we recognize that, oh no, I'm way over here. I'm so far over here and I'm not coming back anytime soon. When we recognize that, we have to be able to recognize it. That's when you don't practice. Okay, so I'm way far over here on worry and concern. It was a little fear and anxiety now because the storm was stronger, and it's pretty much, it's not that far off from being straight. The track is not that far off from being straight over where I live. It's not. So there was a lot of concern on my part, and again, I'm not unconcerned. I'm still paying attention. That's the second part of today's class. I'm still paying attention. But the fear and anxiety that comes from knowing, because I've been through a few, what a Cat 3 hurricane can do. And Ian came ashore as a Cat 4. I've seen what a Cat 5 can do. That was ugly. It was ugly. Andrew was ugly. So yeah, oh boy. I looked at the Geo's satellite images, and the storm definitely has dissipated. It's much less organized. It's still spinning, but the strength just keeps ebbing away. That's a very good thing. I hope that it doesn't reorganize. I really do. I just go out over the ocean and just dissipate, just go away. That'd be great. Knowing that I'm over here, and I'm still waving out over here, knowing that my sense of concern and worry is way out over here, and with the wind outside, knowing that I was not going to be able to bring that concentration that I want for my own practice to regulating my breath, regulating that internal body, regulating right? Wasn't going to happen. Wasn't going to happen. Every time the wind picks up, I hear it. And that's the second part of today's class, that listening. We don't listen. Most people don't. We can't hear what another person says, let alone what the wind is telling us. And I'll talk about that for a second. What's the wind telling me? What's the wind telling me? What outside? What's it? How strong it is? What direction it's coming from? How fast the storm is moving? How fast it's rotating? Whether it's getting stronger or weaker? And with that stronger, weaker, and the timing for how the bands come through, I can tell about what's going on with the storm. So last night, it was getting stronger, right? Compared to what had been yesterday afternoon. The storm is coming this way. Yesterday morning, my time, it had not come ashore yet. Okay? It's coming across the state. Getting stronger, getting closer, right? As it came inland, it started to get weaker. But it was still coming. So for me, stronger and more intense because it's getting closer. As it progressed, as it kept coming, the wind sweeping around the house through the trees would come through in gusts, right? So around the house, that whoosh around the roof, the trees, which I had gotten cut back, so so they're not up against the house. Yay. Also got the gutters cleaned out so that there was plenty of room for the water. But so I can hear the wind coming around the house, and it's coming from the north, come around this way. That actually is north for me, this way. So I have some advantage in that my south wall and my north wall are both concrete block and they don't have windows. A small window in the bathroom up here, and the garage is on that side. But this room does not have windows to the south. It has a west window. So the house and the orientation of the house. So if my house was facing north, be a different story. Because it's facing east and the wind's coming from the north, the house itself offers some protection. Yeah, the wind could change, and I do have some concern about after the storm passes on being on the trailing edge of the storm as opposed to the leading edge, because sometimes the trailing edge does more damage. Fingers crossed. So far I'm good because I'm here. I've got power. It's been a couple of times off and on, but it's on and it's relatively stable. So here I am. All right, that is something that I'm extremely thankful for. I know people who very likely don't have power right now. And I know of people, news reports, right? Lots of folks that don't have power. Lots of folks on the Florida coast and in the Caribbean that don't have power. So there's a lot of folks who I feel you. I mentioned I've been through a couple of storms. Francis, Jean, and Wilma in South Florida. Michael and Faye here in Central Florida. And I was just coming back to the U.S. from being away when Andrew came through Miami. So, and I flew in. I was on the plane. So, no, it wasn't good. It wasn't. I had family whose home was wiped out in Katrina. None of it's fun. And knowing all of that is why I'm over here with I'm paying attention to this. I know I'm paying attention to this. And there's pretty much nothing else that was going to be able to distract me from that for any length of time. I'm going to pay attention to it. I don't want to go outside. I'm just, thanks. No, not going outside. But listening, and that skill to know. Now, I'm not practicing this morning. It's not going to happen. What am I doing? I'm listening. I'm very much on alert. Are there trees snapping? No. Excellent. This is great. I've tried to cultivate native species so that if they did, they break nicely. Yeah, the native species do that. I've kept a low 8-foot low edge that tends to take and block a lot of the wind on both sides. So my shrubs protect me. I mean, it's a good thing, right? And when I was growing up, I know I'm kind of being distracted by the wind. I'm listening. When I was growing up, I grew up in the U.S. Midwest in the state of Kansas. And we would go to visit my maternal grandparents from time to time. And that meant driving from Kansas City to way out in western Kansas. As we drove along, there were windbreaks sections of trees along the fields that were there deliberately to break the wind, so that there wasn't as much opportunity for a great dust bowl anymore. Now, we could talk historically about why it was a bad idea to clear all that land in the first place, but I'm not going to go there right this minute. The point was the windbreak, and that idea that I've got shrubs which are well rooted, low to the ground, 6 to 8 feet, and will help to absorb some of the force of the wind, which an open yard, which has nothing there, just, grass, no nothing, seriously, that's not going to break that's not going to break the wind at all. That won't stop anything. I've got another section in the front to do the same thing. Okay, so the back's pretty well covered. The sides are pretty well covered. I've got another section in front that will double as privacy and that windbreak from the east. Because, we do get east winds. Most of the winds through here come from the north, though. So I'm pretty comfortable with what I've got going on the north side. As I've been sitting here and talking, the wind has come through and slowed and come through and slowed, and now it's just kind of a steady, I wouldn't call it a breeze, but it's not down to a breeze yet, alright? But the gusts are now pausing and are becoming somewhat less frequent. How do I hear that? What does it tell me? It's the obvious. I'm either in the middle or the storm is dissipating some more. And those are my two choices. My hope is that the storm has moved sufficiently further south of me